This is your daily news recap for June 23, 2025. Today, a new flashpoint emerges as Iran launches missiles at United States bases in Qatar and Iraq. There were no reported casualties, but regional airspace was shut down. This came in direct response to recent United States airstrikes on Iranian nuclear facilities. Qatar, Kuwait, Bahrain, and the UAE closed their skies ahead of the strikes. President Trump called out Iran's attack and thanked Tehran for giving advance warning. Global markets are jittery as oil prices fluctuated sharply after the escalation. Goldman Sachs warns Brent crude could hit $100 if the Strait of Hormuz is disrupted. Despite fears, oil prices pulled back slightly as OPEC's supply buffers reassure markets. The NATO summit in The Hague is overshadowed by the Iran strikes. European leaders expressed concern over being sidelined in United States military decisions. France urged diplomacy over force, while Germany and others were blindsided by the strikes. Russia condemned the United States strikes and called for urgent diplomatic solutions. European nations are now pushing for tougher sanctions on Israel. In Gaza, over 200 Palestinians were killed in Israeli bombardments this weekend. Amnesty International accuses Israel of committing genocide in southern Gaza. Spain prepares to request the EU suspend its partnership with Israel over human rights abuses. The UN Security Council held an emergency session to address rising tensions. Global civilian flights faced major disruption due to closed airspace in the Middle East. The United States moved non-essential personnel out of Lebanon, amid fear of wider conflict. Iran's parliament voted to potentially close the Strait of Hormuz if provoked further. That strait carries nearly 20% of global oil supply every day. The United States stock market saw mild dips on rising geopolitical risk. Tesla shares rose after launching a new driverless robotaxi program in Austin. Northern Trust surged on rumors of a merger with Bank of New York Mellon. Stellantis shares dropped after a leadership shakeup and suspended guidance. Major United States insurers announced streamlined prior authorization to improve care. A scorching heat dome is blanketing parts of the United States with dangerous humidity. Europe faces a record heat wave with hundreds of lives lost in the UK. France's power grid strained as heat disrupts nuclear and hydro output. Germany, Ireland, Spain, and Portugal issued heat alerts as temperatures soared. The Vera C. Rubin Observatory released its first breathtaking images of the cosmos. The solar orbiter captured an unprecedented view of the sun's south pole. Fred Smith, founder of FedEx, was laid to rest at 80 years old. Sean Combs faces legal fallout from an emerging trafficking case. NATO leaders pledge increased defense budgets in response to global instability. Ukraine remains a key concern, with new Russian missile strikes reported. Greece arrested a suspected spy on Crete, raising espionage alarms. King Charles III met privately with President Zelensky in Windsor. Japan's Shinmo-dake volcano erupted, prompting localized alerts. 4 JSDF soldiers were injured in an explosives mishap at Kadena Air Base. Poland concluded its presidential election with a tight runoff victory. Ukraine launched a large drone strike on Russian positions overnight. Air India Flight 171 crashed in Ahmedabad, killing more than 240 people. North American cities saw immigration protests sweep through major downtowns. The G7 summit in Canada focuses on global economic and defense challenges. Japan clinched a 6-0 victory over Indonesia to qualify for the 2026 World Cup. A Japanese lunar lander crashed during descent in a failed mission attempt. Markets eye Jerome Powell's upcoming testimony on Fed policy and inflation. Commodity prices dropped as investors awaited key earnings reports. Bitcoin surged past $101,000 amid renewed tech sector optimism. New Brunswick officials investigate major cybersecurity breaches. Ice Cube's summer tours announcement lit up social media feeds. Hollywood's award season begins with a high-profile scandal already brewing. A new vitamin D study hints at increased longevity benefits. Early trials show promise for a new gonorrhea vaccine in the UK. The Pandora mission will soon launch to explore distant exoplanets. NASA's IMAP probe prepares to collect interstellar dust for analysis. A rare Atlantic storm formed unexpectedly, catching meteorologists off guard. Scientists warn of rising microplastics in farmland around the world. A collapsed tunnel disrupted rail services in northern England. Historic manuscripts were stolen from a museum in Paris. Teens across the United States mimic medieval sword fights in viral trend. A Georgia lawmaker proposed banning AI art in advertisements. An indie game shattered Steam download records in just 24 hours. That's your top news for June 23, 2025. Catch the full stories on our channel. Subscribe so you never miss a daily recap.